The Trailblazers are about to find out who's for real on their team. Welcome in or welcome back. The Trailblazers have had both a very strange and a very sweet offseason. On the onset, it seems like they made all the right moves. Move away from pieces who don't match a scheme or a timeline and bring in vets to show the young guys how to work. Now, they have a lot to figure out right now, and I don't think they're going to make any noise this year, but I do think that they potentially have pieces that could scare the rest of the league. Of course, when we look at their offseason in review, we have to start foundationally with the draft. And at number 16, we picked up Hansen Yang. And I understand why you would want the draft Hansen Yang. When the comp of next Jokic gets thrown around, it's really hard to not be intrigued. And I think the stats are there too. 16, 10, 3, 2.5 blocks a game in the CBA is very respectable. I do think that there are some questions to be asked. Like, for instance, why would you draft him at all when you have Donovan Clingan on your team? Now, they do very different things, especially on both the offensive and defensive sides of the ball, respectively. But I feel like the center that you have dictates the way that you play basketball. I think that Hansen Yang could be a very decent shot blocker, but I don't think that he's a great individual defender. And on the other hand, Donovan Clingan is a great shot blocker, a great team defender, but is way less skilled as an offensive playmaker than Hansen Yang is. I think a hurdle for Hansen Yang early on is going to be his conditioning. I really do want him to show out. I want there to be a scenario where it's like a league pass night, and you turn on the Trailblazers and you see that he has 20, 10, and 7. I do think that it's going to be really hard for him to stay on the floor when the team has to play 4-on-5. Because when I watched him in the Summer League this year, it seems like he had cinder blocks for feet. He's going to have some barriers this year. I'm hopeful that he can get over them, though, because the 0.5 archetype is one of my favorites in the league, and I think we need more of them. Before we talk about the sweet moments in this offseason, we do have to talk about a couple of additions to the team, and as respectfully as possible to Blake Wesley, the money move here was trading for Drew Holiday and not waiving him again. And don't get me wrong, Drew Holiday is not the same guy that he was in 2021 on that championship team, or even in 2024 on that championship team. But the experience that he can pass down to already good defenders on that team, like Matisse Thybulle, like Toumani Camaro, my goodness. I think that because of his experience and what he can pass on to the next generation, the league is going to be in trouble. I do think that Drew Holiday will play a lot this year, but I think it's going to be more of a grandfather role than anything. And honestly, at this stage in his career, I think that's the best move for him. And of course, the re-signing that everyone wanted to happen, Damian Lillard comes home. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am a sucker for a reunion. And I also think that it's pretty obvious that Damian Lillard didn't want to leave Portland. When he landed in Milwaukee, it was really cool for the first couple of months. Just the idea of him and Giannis being this unstoppable 1-2 pick and roll dynamite duo. And there were times that Dame and Giannis were scary. But then reality set in, and then the injury set in after that. Now, of course, Damian Lillard won't be an active part of this team this year because of his injury, but again, the experience that guys like him and Drew Holiday can pass on to the younger generation, like Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe, I'm really excited about this team's future. We do have to talk about the bad before we get into the overview of the season. DeAndre Ayton and Anthony Simons. Sometimes things just don't work out. And sometimes things are just so obvious that it's not going to work that the breakup should have happened months ago. And sometimes it's very obvious that the relationship should have never happened in the first place. But thankfully for the Blazers, their relationship with DeAndre Ayton has come to an end. I think that it's really fair to say that DeAndre Ayton has underperformed as a former number 1 overall pick, and I don't think that he would have been able to repair his reputation here in Portland if he stayed. I don't think that he's going to do that in LA either, for the record, but I think there was a negative chance of it happening in Portland. With guys on the roster like Donovan Clingan and now Hansen Yang, it was just time for DeAndre Ayton to move on to clear up a bunch of minutes for that team. And I'm not even positive that the Trailblazers are actually going to miss his impact on the floor, because everything that he does well, you now have, at least in theory, in either Donovan Clingan or Hansen Yang. And for Anthony Simons, he was a very bright spot in the post-Damian Lillard era. He really is captivating to watch as a player. He loves to get shots up, and I think that he's a better facilitator than a lot of people give him credit for. I do think that he's going to do well in Boston, but on the same note as Ayton, there are just other roster members that needed more opportunity, and now that Anthony Simons isn't there, they're going to get it. Looking at you, Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe. And now to give some sort of quasi-prediction for the Trailblazers this year, do I think that they're going to be a good basketball team? No. But do I think that they are going to be bad without a purpose? Hell no. The West is as tough as it has ever been, And it's honestly for the best that the Trailblazers don't believe that they can make some noise, because they would be sorely mistaken. The team is very young, excluding guys like Damian Lillard and Drew Holiday, and I think that bodes well for them in the future. And they also have 7 first-round picks over the next 7 years, so I think the Blazers are in a really good position. I do have some questions about the guys that don't match a timeline, and even some guys that are in between, like a Denny and like a Jeremy Grant, what they're going to do with them in the future. Because again, if they don't match the timeline and you were supposed to be bad, you're supposed to take your lumps, I'd have to imagine that they take those pieces and trade them for future draft capital. Either way, I'm really high on the Trailblazers' future, and I think in the next 4 or 5 years, the team is going to be really good. But that's just my opinion. Am I too high or too low on the Trailblazers? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there, check my description. Got a link tree with all of my socials. TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, obviously here on YouTube. I am everywhere. And I also have a Discord community that I would love for you to be a part of. But that's going to do it for me. Be on the lookout for your favorite team in this series. Be kind. Tell somebody you love them. And I'll see you in the next one.
Barely scraping by. Trying to stop puffing. I'm trying to be one of the greats.